Hiya, my name's Andy Cross. What I'm going to do, I'm going to cover some nutrition for fat loss, but the only area I'm going to really look at on this is carbohydrates. There's so many things with nutrition. You've got fat, you've got proteins, you've got macronutrients, micronutrients, exercise to go along with it as well for fat loss. But really, what I'm going to concentrate on this vlog is carbohydrates. As I said, my name's Andy Cross, personal trainer, based in Milton Keynes and Towcester in the UK. Um, I've been a personal trainer now for coming up to 10 years. The thing with personal training school, when they teach you about nutrition, they teach you about calories in and calories out and healthy eating, which is really what diet is all about. But what I found was that not one diet works for all. So when you start doing personal training, you come up with these magnificent diets. You think, yeah, these are the perfect for my clients. And sure, they do work for a few of them, um, maybe half a dozen of them. But when you've got a clientele of, a client base of 30, 40 clients, and you're only getting a small proportion of those actually getting results from the dieting, especially the diet that you think the one size fits all type diet, you start to ask questions. The first questions are they actually following these diets? Generally, I would say they are. If they're paying to come to see me, they're investing their time, their money, they're going to try and stick as close to these diets as they can. Um, People just don't want to throw money away. Uh, so I had the same problems each week. People would come in, I'd get them onto the scales that measures muscle mass as well as body fat and all um, the other things. And what I found was some would be holding on to body fat, losing some muscle. Some would be gaining muscle, holding on to the same body fat. Some would be, you know, doing the right thing, holding on to muscle, losing body fat. However, it was never the same for every single individual. I decided to do a little bit more research in this and I enrolled in a few courses learning about the metabolism and eventually become qualified as a metabolic nutrition consultant. And this really opened up the world to me, to be honest with you. What I learned was not one diet works for everybody. Everybody is unique. Everybody is different. You can look at diet as like a fingerprint, right? Every fingerprint is different. Everybody's diet tends um, everybody's requires a different type of diet. So what I'm going to do first is just sort of give you an idea of the carbohydrates and what hormones are being secreted by the body, which contribute towards fat loss with carbohydrates. Now, carbohydrates, I'm sure to many of you, is a bit of a swear word. You think carbohydrates straight away, you're going to be gaining weight. You need to cut out carbs. They're the enemy. They're the evil ones, you know. So people tend to try diets like the keto diet, Atkins diet, many other fad diets around. So you've got soup diet, you've got um, there's just so many different diets out there that people come up with, you know. And the problem is, a lot of these tend to be celebrities. So you have a celebrity that goes on the keto diet, it's on zero carbs. And they put, wow, look at my results. I've lost this much weight. Everybody looks at it, they think, wow, that can work for me. So what I found, a lot of people tend to think, well, maybe I need to cut back on the carbs, cut back on the carbs. I don't need carbs. Um, so they go on these zero carbs or ultra low carbohydrate diets. And yes, they do lose weight. Bravo, you've lost weight. Okay. But is that really what you want to be doing? So with weight loss, okay, you lose muscle, water, and fat. So it's exactly what it is. It is weight loss. These are extreme diets. such as the keto, an extremely low carb diet. Now, people look at carbohydrates as the enemy, but what's actually happening to the body, you probably experienced this if you've been on a keto diet or on an ultra low carbohydrate diet. You have a decrease in energy, your strength decreases, your stamina decreases, you feel tired all the time, you find it hard to concentrate, and reduced immunity as well. So there's always the risk of picking up infections, viruses, becoming ill. All right. What I focus on is fat loss. Okay. Not weight loss. I can't stand when people saying, I need to lose weight. I need to lose weight. Yes, fat does weigh, but to be honest with you, muscle weighs heavier than fat. All right. So with a fat loss diet, we're going to be incorporating carbs to help with the fat loss journey. So with that as well, you want to be focusing on exercise that's going to build lean muscle mass. You want to eat whole foods, even short short, low, high intensity sessions, as it says there, 30 to 45 minutes, you can find will help with fat loss. Now, with fat loss, so where you're keeping the carbohydrates in your diet is not only a sustainable diet, but also you get improved fitness, increased strength, reduced risk of diseases, more well-being, mentally and physically. So it's certainly a better place to be. And you can understand by the time we get to the end of this vlog that you will actually think, actually, this is sustainable. This is something I could do long term. Okay, and continue the fat loss journey. So with this sort of diet, it may be some weeks you don't lose any weight, some weeks you might even gain weight, but we're talking weight. As long as the fat is coming down, your body is starting to change shape, not shrink. Yes, we want to shrink the body fat, but we do not want to shrink or lose weight of the muscle. So let's go a little bit more into depth with carbohydrates. So why are carbs important to us? Well, as you know, carbs, it gives us energy. So there's carbohydrates in sweet stuff, there's carbohydrates in whole grain, there's carbohydrates in potatoes, vegetables, but these are different types of carbohydrates. You've got fast acting carbohydrates, you've got slow releasing carbohydrates. And what they all have in common, they release insulin into our bodies. Now, insulin, for those of you may know, is a blood sugar controlling hormone, but it's not only that. What is a surprise to a lot of people, insulin is actually also a fat storing hormone. So with carbohydrates, if you overeat carbohydrates, you're going to get more insulin into your body. You will become insulin resistant, which then can lead to stuff like type 2 diabetes, being overweight, because the body's resistant to insulin, therefore the body's having to produce more. But with carbohydrates, you can find a balance to make you more sensitive to insulin, which will then produce a fat burning state. So carbohydrates will also prevent glucose being produced out of protein. So this is what we mean by weight loss. If you're on a zero carb diet, if you're starting to lose protein, that protein is coming from your muscles. It's being converted into glucose, an energy system, an energy product to help you sustain daily living, to exercise. Keeping carbohydrates in your diet will also help prevent cravings, but we need to make sure it's the right type of carbohydrates, which again I will touch on shortly. So as I said, with carbohydrates, we balance our blood glucose levels, and look after our well-being, both mentally and physiologically. We fuel the brain. We also fuel the body for any workouts you're going to do to assist in your fat loss regime and to get you to the goals where you want to get to. So what we're going to look at now, I'm going to explain to you how insulin works in the body and what types of food we eat and how the body responds to those types of carbohydrates. Okay, so in front of me, this is something I put together on paintbrush. I like to use paintbrush. It's quite easy to use. So my technical abilities with computers is not that great. So please accept my paintbrush as a useful tool for what I'm about to explain. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to explain a few different types of eating habits you may have been used to in your lifetime, or if you're not, then I'm going to certainly teach you something from this. You may look at this and think, actually, yeah, that is me, that has happened to me, I totally get this, and hopefully it'll give you an insight to how important it is to select the right types of carbohydrates. So what we're going to do first, we're going to look at somebody who's in a rush all the time. They're on the go, they're living on fast food, a quick cereal bar in the morning, that sort of thing. And we're going to see what's happening to the body and why weight gain in the form of fat is going to be contributing to them being overweight. So we're going to start with, I'm going to use the red here. I am colorblind. Right, there's the red. Right. So we're going to look at breakfast. So let's talk as soon as you wake up in the morning. So waking up in the morning, I don't know what that time is for you. It could be 6 o'clock in the morning, could be 8 o'clock. You could be laying until 10 o'clock. But as soon as you wake up in the morning, your body will start releasing glucose into your blood. This is done through adrenaline and cortisol. So with that, your body will start to produce insulin straight away. So we're going to say you start getting up here. So blood sugars steadily start to raise. All right. Breakfast time, you're in a hurry, you're under stress. So what's going to happen is you're going to grab something quick for breakfast, or you might even leave it till mid-morning. But we'll say you grab something for breakfast, maybe a quick cereal bar that's high in sugar, right? So this carbohydrate is going to have this sort of effect with your blood sugars. So they're going to shoot up really high like this and then drop off pretty quick as well. All right. Now, the same thing here is going to happen for lunch. You're going to grab something quick and easy, maybe a McDonald's. I'm not advertising McDonald's here, but maybe you might go for a fast food. You may grab a pizza or something like that, so a fast acting carbohydrate again, or even some chocolate, who knows. So again, you're going to shoot up again, and these are going to drop off pretty quick. All right. Again, for dinner, you get in, you've got assignments to do, so you might grab something quick to eat. Maybe you're looking after the kids, you want to get the kids to bed, so again, you're just going to grab something quick to eat. So you might do yourself, I don't know, let's talk jam on white toast or something. All right, so something really quick. Again, white bread and that, fast acting carbohydrate, boom, same effect again. All right, so that's what's happening to the blood sugars. Now, the reason these blood sugars are dropping pretty quick here is because we're having something that we call insulin spikes. So we're going to use a blue here for the insulin. So as soon as you get up in the morning, your body starts producing insulin just to try and counteract this balance of the raise in blood sugars. So you sort of want to stay in this area here. All right, this is your normal blood sugar readings. So what's going to happen is insulin is going to really spike up. Now you've had this fast acting carbohydrate, up it goes, up it goes, up it goes. And then it's going to come off like this. It's going to drop down. All right. Again here, insulin will spike up. Boom. Up it goes. Back down again. All right. And again, up and down. Okay. So this carbohydrate is short acting. You've still got insulin in your body here. All right. So what's going to happen around these sort of times here? Well, you are going to get hungry. So again, you're going to end up snacking on something. So you may have I don't know, a chocolate bar. Boom, fast up again. Here, mid-afternoon, chocolate bar, keep you going. And here in the evening, you're at home, the kids have gone to bed. If you haven't got kids, you're sat at home, you've done your work, you're watching TV, you start getting the munchies, you got all this insulin in your body. So you're going to start grabbing these fast acting carbohydrates like this throughout the evening. Then you're going to bed. So this is where this gets really messy on this diagram now, because again, you'll have more insulin coming out like this, fast acting again, fast acting, and again, fast acting like this throughout the evening. So you can see insulin is being used a lot. There's a lot of insulin going on here. Okay, this will in time make you insulin resistant. So the more insulin will start being produced. As I said, it's a fat storing hormone, so your insulin releases will be higher just to get those blood sugars down. Right? It's quite a scruffy diagram at the moment, and I'm pleased it is, because this is exactly what's happening to your body. You're messing it up. You're messing up your metabolism, your metabolic system, with all these quick acting carbohydrates, all this eating. Insulin's getting higher and higher. Your weight is going through the roof because all that extra insulin you've got in your body is turning these carbohydrates into fat for storage to be used later. Okay, so that is that. So I'm just going to quickly get rid of all these, just tidy this up a little bit. Right, now, okay, so what we're going to look at now, I want to look at someone who is on a very low carbohydrate throughout the day. All right, they've started this new diet, so they're going to wake up in the morning, they're going to think, right, for breakfast I'm going to have 2 boiled eggs. All right, so you've had your breakfast, you've had your 2 boiled eggs here. So remember, insulin is rising because you've just got out of bed. All right, however, they're a little bit more stable now. Okay, which is good. You're not got any fast acting carbohydrates. However, you not have any carbohydrates to fuel your brain. You don't have any carbohydrates to fuel any activity you might be doing, be it walking to the office. If you've got a physical job, there's no carbohydrates there to give you energy. If you're going to the gym, there's no carbohydrates to give you the energy. So what's happening to your body? There's going to be a lot of cortisol release because you're under stress. Your body is under stress. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this, when you get up in the morning, cortisol's released, adrenaline's released. What that is going to do is going to raise your blood sugars naturally. So where's it getting this glucose from? For a start, it's your liver, but also the longer you starve your body, it will start breaking down muscle tissue to turn into energy, which is all extra stress on the body. So blood sugars are going to rise naturally. So let's imagine throughout the day, your blood sugars are going to be going up and down. So I'm just going to quickly do this. So throughout the day, you're going to be doing this with your blood sugars. They're going to be getting higher and down like this. And the reason they're sort of having this sort of effect is not any carbohydrates you're eating, but what's happening with your insulin levels. So these are your blood sugars. This is not where you've eaten. What we're talking about, what you've eaten, is say your 2 boiled eggs for breakfast. Lunchtime, you've had a salad, no carbohydrates in it, just a salad. For dinner, again, you've had a salad or some vegetables, very, very, very low in carbohydrate. You may have even had a little bit of protein here, which will help fill you up, but it's not going to give you energy. So what's happening with your insulin levels? Just make sure I did. Yes, I did. Right. So insulin's produced, so it's gone up, down, up. So your insulin's starting to do this throughout the day. And what people tend to find when they get home from work, they start getting these cravings. So you may get home 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. You've been so good on this diet that you've had throughout the whole day. Insulin levels are now really high through stress, maybe even stress with work. And what tends to happen, people tend to overindulge, maybe come off this diet, maybe not straight away, but certainly within a week or two, they will have a bit of a breakdown in terms of not being able to stop eating during the evenings. So out come the biscuits, out come the chocolate, ice cream, whatever. So this is when everything turns into a disaster here in the evenings. So if you imagine, if you've now put all these carbohydrates into you, throughout the night, you're going to have high insulin levels, which therefore it's going to be storing all this as body fat. So bang, that was a complete waste of time. You had no energy, you felt lethargic, and it just does not work. All right. So that is that. So what I'm going to look at now, remember we're trying to control insulin levels to prevent fat loss, but to contribute towards fat loss and to hold on to muscle tissue. Right, so we're going to look at complex carbohydrates. So this is something that I like to sort of discuss. If you're going to start including, if you want to go onto a diet, you need carbohydrates. The best type of carbohydrates are your carbohydrates low in GI. So the GI diet, glycemic index. So a slow releasing carbohydrate, and how these are going to work. You're going to get up in the morning. All right. So you're going to have a raise in blood sugar as before. You have maybe a bowl of porridge or a couple slices of wholemeal toast. You could also have an egg with that if you like. That's certainly going to keep cravings off, and your blood sugars will do this, and then they will come down slowly. All right. Lunchtime. All right. You might have that salad. You might have a wholemeal slice of bread. So again, this is going to happen, and it's going to come down because of this slow releasing carbohydrate. All right. Evening meal, you're going to pick something like maybe sweet potato with chicken breast. Again, a slow releasing carbohydrates up, and this will take you through to Z time, which is bedtime. Insulin levels are now going to be more like this. Okay, so they're going to be more in tune with your body's response on carbohydrates. So you can see those blood sugars are in line. These insulin levels here are not spiking, they're not going too high. So certainly starting to control those blood sugar levels, which is the sort of diet we want to be on. You're eating less carbohydrates, less calories. So for 2 slices of wholemeal toast in the morning, it's probably going to be around about 40 grams of carbs. Lunchtime, you may have 1 slice of bread. You might even have sweet potatoes, some brown rice. So we're probably looking at around 30 grams of carbs. And for evening meal, your sweet potato, maybe approximately 30 to 40 grams of carbs. So throughout the whole day, you're looking at around about 120 grams of carbohydrates, as compared to a fast-acting carbohydrate diet where you're going to be easily well over 200, 300 grams of carbs with massive insulin spikes. And remember, I keep saying it, insulin is not just a blood sugar lowering hormone, it's also a fat storing hormone. So I hope you sort of understood that. We're going to go a little bit more into carbohydrates and why stuff like okay, so we're going to go back into carbohydrates and why keto diets, low carb diets are not so good for you. So what I want to show you now, I'm going to show you a picture of it was a young girl back in the early 1920s, just before insulin was invented. She had type 1 diabetes. Then insulin was invented, I think it's around 1923, 1924. And she was lucky enough to be one of the first people to start taking insulin. So what happens with type 1 diabetes is basically the pancreas stops producing insulin. So there's no insulin in the body, or very, very, very small amounts as the pancreas is starting to stop working, basically. So just look at this here. So this picture here, her on the left, this is her before she started insulin. Weight loss, that is exactly weight loss, going on a zero, basically similar to a zero carb diet. There's no insulin being produced. So loss of body fat, loss of muscle tissue, dehydrated. Okay. High levels of ketones. This girl would have been severely unwell at this point. Okay. This here of this girl is around about 6 months later where she started insulin therapy. And you can see what insulin has done to the body. She's now a healthy body weight. She's got muscle. There is body fat there, but yeah, she needed to put that back on. But you can sort of see the importance of insulin in the human body. All right. But what we need to do, we need to find out your particular carbohydrate tipping point. There's quite a bit on this slide. You're probably reading ahead, but this is what I recommend you do. Everybody will require a different amount of carbohydrates in their diet. So what you need to do first of all, before you start anything like this, is to take pictures of yourself. Front pictures, side pictures, and back. In your underwear, get someone to take the pictures for you. And then you can compare these in 4 weeks' time, in 8 weeks' time, 12 weeks, so forth, in a year's time, and sort of see how your body has changed. You need to find out what your basal metabolic rate is. And that's something you could do online. You could find yourself a site where you put in your age, your weight, your height, and it should give you what you call a BMR. Basal metabolic rate is basically the amount of calories you require per day to maintain your current body weight if you were sat on your backside doing nothing. So that would be your BMR. So this is a baseline. What you've got to remember is if you're exercising, if you're up, moving around, you're going to be burning more calories. So therefore, you may need to add carbohydrates into your diet. You may need to increase your BMR to prevent unwanted weight loss, such as muscle and water, through a diet that is too low in calories and carbohydrates. I'd recommend recording your food on an app. Now, there's apps such as MyFitnessPal where you record each meal. So you can put everything on there. Now, for a couple of weeks, it'll probably be a pain. But after that, you can most probably know by just looking at the food what carbohydrates are in the food. So it's probably a short-term thing. So it may be worth going back to that, every couple of months, just to make sure you're logging everything correctly, you're eating the right macronutrients. And the macronutrients we're looking at are carbohydrates, protein, and fats. Now, as a baseline, I would certainly look at starting at what I've put down here. So carbohydrates at 35%, protein at 35%, fats at 30% of your BMR. Calories per gram of carbohydrates are 4, for protein are 4, for fats are 9. So it's just something to keep into account. Other things you can do, if you've got the money, invest in some scales, the bioelectrical impedance analysis scales, BIA. You can either stand on these or you can stand on them and you can hold, I don't know what you call it. You can hold, some of them have like handheld part of the scales as well, which you can get, which are probably better than the ones that you just stand on. And what that does, that send a small electrical current throughout your body. You can't even feel it, and it measures through water how much body fat you have, how much muscle tissue you have, bone density, everything like that. And it should also work out your BMR anyway with those. But that would then allow you to keep a log every week of how much body fat you've lost, how much muscle you've got, you've lost, or you've gained. All right. So I'd certainly invest in something like that. Probably a very good investment. In the UK, you're probably looking from anything from £50 to £200. So they can be pricey, but the better ones are obviously the more expensive ones. But it is certainly a good way to monitor what's going on with your body. Now, I want you to remember this. So remember these three things. If you're losing body fat and you're losing muscle, you still need more carbohydrates in your diet. If fat is staying the same, muscle is staying the same, you are then at this carb tipping point. And this is where you need to make changes to your diet. So if you are losing body fat, muscle is the same, you know that your diet is perfect. You're eating the correct amount of carbohydrates for your specific needs. Now, remember, everybody is different at this. All right, so you need to work this out. You need to fine tune yourself. So if fat's ever being gained, it could be one or two things. It could be A, you're not eating enough carbohydrates, or you're eating too many. So you need to look at the muscle. If muscle is going up, there's certainly too many carbs in your diet. If muscle is staying the same, then you need, muscle is staying the same or dropping, you need more carbohydrate because your body is starting to take glucose from muscle tissue instead of from food that you're eating, and then your body is storing body fat. It's just basically going to survival. So you need to manipulate your diet according to that, according to exercise you do. If you're exercising, you will need more carbohydrates on that day. The type of exercise you're doing all depends on the amount of carbohydrates. It's a lot of trial and error. I will be putting more vlogs together to help cover these areas. Manipulate the diet, as I mentioned, on the fats. You know, if you're gaining fat, losing fat, fat is staying the same. So you can manipulate your diet on that, and also to control hunger and cravings. There's nothing worse than being hungry or craving food because there's too much insulin in your body. So therefore, you may need more carbohydrates, or maybe even adding fiber to your diet, fiber drinks, that sort of thing, just to stop those sort of cravings. All right. So we're really looking at sustainability. Now, this book here on the right, I am getting no commission from this at all. But to give you a good idea, this is probably one of the best books. I have this book myself. I've referred to it many, many, many times. By Dr. Jenny Brand Miller. It's a book on a GI diet. So it's definitely worth investing in this. It can easily be purchased from any bookshops, Amazon, online. But certainly give you an idea of what type of carbohydrates to eat to keep you fuller for longer and to stop you craving and eating between meals, or just eating those extra calories. So sustainable diet, there's no short-term outcome to this. This is a long-term diet. This is something that really should be a life habit. It should be life-changing to you. I'm not looking at you to go on to something like an Atkins diet or soup diet for the rest of your life. The problem with those sort of type of fad diets, zero carbs, you can sustain it for a short term. You're losing muscle, you're losing body fat, you're losing water. But what actually happens is at the end of that fad diet, or when you choose to end it, when you've lost a stone, you're happy, you start eating again, you start eating carbs, that weight will just go straight back on because you're going back to your old habits. Sustainability. So use a low GI diet, carbohydrates, monitor your body, and you can certainly enjoy normal food with other people, not having to pick and choose. Fuel your day and exercise. Okay. There's nothing more I can really say about carbohydrates at the moment without making this such a lot longer vlog. I'm sure most of you have had enough of listening to my voice by now. But the main things I wanted you to understand is you need carbohydrates in your diet to be able to sustain a healthy fat loss or weight loss, if you want to look at it as weight loss, but we're looking at the weight as fat. All right, it's about changing the shape of your body, not shrinking it. Okay. Anyway, any of you got any questions? There's my details below. You can send me emails via my website at crosspt.co.uk. Okay, this is Andy Cross, personal trainer of Cross PT, Cross Personal Training. Thanks for joining in, and I look forward to talking to you again on another vlog.